What is going on, guys, and welcome to Ignite Thursday Holiday Edition. I am not a festive person, so I know you're asking, well, Marcus, where's all your festive gear? I do not have any of that stuff. I am, again, not very festive, so I do apologize for that. It is the holiday edition. It is Christmas Eve on 2020. For those people who may be watching the replay of this, only because I do convert these videos after these lives to YouTube videos for those people who may try to get something out of these videos. With that being said, it is Christmas Eve, and for those people out there who are spending the time with their family, or perhaps don't have family, I am a veteran, and being in positions on holidays like this, I've been in a lot of times where I've been by myself, so I always want to provide a place for people to go, for those people who don't have family on nights like these, because I think it's important to be able to help people, especially when people are like that. Relationships really matter. If you don't have a community, a place to go to chit chat, to have a good time and just talk, that's why I have this open. That's why I do these still on holidays. I have it set up in a fashion that I can do that right now. So I always try to provide that environment for people when I can. Tonight being one of them, Christmas Eve. I pre-plan, I do a lot of stuff beforehand, so I got everything kind of set up so I can provide the time. I always try to put everybody first. That's why I created Discover Ignite, to help people in the way that I can, through their experiences, through being a practitioner of the things that I teach, and helping people out, and trying to be there, because I know a lot of times people, again, don't have people all the time. And so I, again, try to provide that. With that being said, I didn't want to make this live too long. I do have some talking points. Again, I do want to provide that environment for people to help them out. So nonetheless, I think today I wanted to go over some brief things. I want to talk about relationships, right? Because I think relationships is something I've been talking about. And a lot of times I talk about things and I want to put more clarification out there on things, because a lot of times I think they can be interpreted in a way that makes it sound like you're just going to, when you talk about relationships, and when I talk about like you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with, I don't mean it in a negative way, right? Like I think a lot of times the changes you want to make in your life, like you may not have that environment, you may not have that structure. Sure, you have to be almost a visionary to be able to see it to happen, and to find all those other people that see that same vision that you have can be hard. But the good thing is we have the internet, so you can find people like this, and that's why I wanted to talk about relationships in general, because I do think, I talk about being your best friend, your hype man, and all these things. That's important, because you can't always have somebody there. You try to build a community of people that are like-minded, so you have them around. But again, they're not always going to be there. So you do have to pick yourself up at times where you have to realize that you're not alone. You just have to find what people typically call your tribe, right? Or the people that have the same thoughts and ideas, which is something I posted here on Instagram today. And I think it's important in developing those relationships, especially if you come from a small town. I've been in a small town, and it's hard to find a lot of people that may have the thoughts and ideas to want to change their life. And sometimes you feel like you're stuck and you don't think it's possible. And so I, again, try to provide that with my channel, and try to show you that it's possible. And you just have to go out and seek those people, as it feel like you're alone. I think a lot of people, just being on the internet and reading a lot of comments from different sites and stuff like that, you see that a lot. People reach out because they want the help. They want, whether they're trying to make a change, they want to seem like they have value, right? Like everybody wants to feel like they can provide value, and I believe everybody does have value, right? And so you just got to find those relationships that help you along with that. And I, being one of them, trying to provide that, establish that community of people that want to ignite change into their life, and how you can do that, right? I'm a practitioner. I do the things that I say, and it's important, right? You need to be a model for others to follow. And if you're not the model, then what's the point of teaching it? And with that being said, right, like I don't have to do this. This is not something I have to do. There's other things I can be doing that I would, I could definitely push the envelope on other areas of my life a lot better. But I've always found it more valuable to help people make the change in their lives, and that's why I continue to do this, because I think this is more important to me. Bigger reason being because of my father. My father was that way. He always helped people out no matter what. And now in this new day and age, right, I have a platform to be able to do that and help people out better. And so, again, I've always enjoyed helping people getting unstuck and showing perspective, because I think a lot of these things, again, that I teach, the mindset optimization and perspective, are huge. People want to think that there's more there than. Sorry, my phone is kind of tripping here, so just trying to make sure nothing closes down on me. But with that being said, relationships are important. Relationships, you just got to seek them. Find the groups. You can always come to my channel. This is something I do, Discover Ignite. Pretty much on every platform you can find me. I try to reach and touch as many people as possible, and I try to bring them together to ignite change into your life. Sometimes we don't think we need change. Sometimes we'd much rather just get validation of the position that we're in, as opposed to making the change. And I try to always aim for the root of the change, the change that lasts. That's what I aim for. And if you can, again, provide those relationships, it's something I've really been pushing hard, because I've always been kind of like a lone wolf. And I found that, yes, I'm more agile as a lone wolf in doing it that way, but I still find that I make bigger, better strides and learn a lot faster and better with communities. And so I've joined different communities throughout my life, and I've excelled in doing that, and continue to look and continue to find those things, right? Like I always seek perspective and stuff. It's something I always do, so I always look for other groups and stuff as well, and push and do that. And so with that being said, relationships are important, right? Even though you do have to be able to step up for yourself, you should still find those relationships that can help you get to where you want to go, because one relationship could really help you leverage your position where you're at and teach you things that could really help you. And that's the best thing about having those kind of relationships, is finding that energy when you may be, again, in a small community. Like again, I was in a very small town a couple places in my life, and finding that community was non-existent. I would have to go online to be able to find those communities. So that being said, relationships is huge. Holidays, huge. I hope everybody is having fantastic holidays, Christmas season with the new year coming up as well. I hope everybody's enjoying the time with their friends and family. I know sometimes that's not always the case, but I hope you are enjoying the time with your friends and family, and can foster and have that environment to be able to do that. For those people that don't have that, don't feel alone. All right, we all have somebody out there. You just have to find your community, find your tribe, and you'll be okay. Just keep your head up, and all will be well. Being said, the new year is also coming up, and so I was debating on doing this next week or not, but I kind of want to forecast a lot of different things that are coming up for Discover Ignite. I think I want to be able to help people a lot more in 2021, especially with everything that's been going on with the pandemic and everything. I think a lot of people are struggling to find themselves internally, and so that's why I've been teaching a lot of different things. But I did come out with a video on YouTube for those people that are interested in the 6 steps to making it stick in 2021. If you've always found that you try to ignite that change and it just doesn't stick, I did create a video on that yesterday or today. This morning, it was released today. And there are 6 steps that have really helped me make change stick. And so that video is out, and it goes over some really good things, some really good thoughts and ideas that help you establish that change and keep it, right? Because we don't want to try to ignite change and it just drop off, and then we're back into old routines. And so that, I think that really video really helps and hits that very well. So again, the link is in my bio. If you're watching this on YouTube, it is again, that video is called How to Make It a Better 2021. Make 2021 the best year ever, I believe is what it's called on YouTube. For those people on Instagram, again, link in bio, go to YouTube and check that out. Being said, the book, I have not updated a lot on the book. I think my book is around, it's about almost to 6,000 words, I think. I have since put the book on hold because I've actually transitioned it to a course. The reason for that being, I'm trying to be 100% transparent here. The reason for that being because trying to edit the book and find structure in the book was hard because like you throw a lot of stuff up against the wall, right? it tried to organize it in a book fashion. I'm just not, I'm not a book writer. And so I was trying to organize in it and was just trying to edit it. It was just hard for me to do it in that structure. So I put it in a course, and the course, the software I'm using to develop it is a lot better because I can move the structure around, and I'm loving the way it's going, and it's actually going quite well. I think I'm close to almost half. The course is actually quite big, actually, compared to what the book was. I took a lot of stuff from the book, moved that framework over to the course, and so I've been working through the course, and I've actually expanded a lot more since I've been building it out. And I like it again because it's very fluid, and I can pull stuff out. And and something else also to remember is that from a neuroscience perspective, we are very visual people, right? Humans, we're very visual, and so having a course I think would be more beneficial. I try to make everything I try to do is try to be more beneficial to the masses, considering there's a lot more people out there that are more visual. We are just in general more visual learners. We want to see it as opposed to reading about it and stuff, because I know some people, it may be tough to visualize a lot of stuff from reading and stuff. And so I'm developing a course. That's not saying I'm dropping the book off at all. The book will be done after the course. Once once the structure is, the foundation is solid, I'll transition that to a book, and then that way I can kind of lighten the load on the book, because I don't like adding fluff to a book. That's just not me. I'd rather have it like kind of more like a Cliff Notes kind of thing, where it'd be a quick read, and very affordable for people out there. So that's what I'm trying to do for the book version of it. And of course, again, I got a lot, like I said, I've added a lot. I think, to be honest, I think there's like, I want to say there's over 40 some videos in the course. So there's a couple hours of video, I think overall. And then the structure of it, I'm really enjoying the structure of it and the way I'm setting it up. And that's what I like about it, because in the book you're kind of limited, right? You're just kind of giving information. And I'd much rather be more interactive and have the course to where I'm not only giving the information, but I'm also teaching you, guiding you along the way. I think that's more important, because I can get more hands-on with a course as opposed to I can with a book. With a book, you're kind of just giving information. A lot of times you just give information, that's great, but it's making the change and igniting the change is more on the action and taking those steps. So that's what that is for. And so again, I will try to keep everybody updated on the course and the book. Again, I am dedicated to getting this done. I know I was talking about dedicated to getting that book done, and that book will be done after this course. Once the course is done, this foundation is set, I will make like a Cliff Note version of that and move that, transition that to the book. And again, now that my thoughts and ideas are in the course and I can shift it around and move it around better, that is what I'm planning with that. Being said, looking into the podcast this week is something else. I was this Sunday. What I'm doing with that, I've really been hammering hard on the mindset with the podcast, because I think that's important. But one thing that I started before this whole underdog experiment thing and stuff like that, I aimed it for the different pillars, what I call it. So essentially, I started out with 4 pillars, and then I knocked it down to 3, and now I'm just essentially calling it the pillars of perspective is essentially what I've also labeled it in the course. And so I think this Sunday's podcast, which is episode 5 of Discover Ignite podcast, which is also something in the description, my bio. It's in the description on YouTube and in my bio on Instagram. So if you're interested in the Discover Ignite podcast, I do talk about a lot of the stuff I do talk about on here. I also have interviews and stuff on there that I've done. I keep all the video format on YouTube, and then I also have the audio version that's just on essentially almost all the platforms except Apple right now. I'm trying to get approval to get on Apple, which takes a while. So that is available on Apple as well. You can still find me on just about any other podcast platform. So essentially that's what I'm talking about is the pillars of perspective, which I typically talk about health, mindset, our health, body and mind, and then I typically talk about finance and soft skills, which I believe are the 3 pillars that will help you gain what you want in life, because I think that's important. I think a lot of times we chase the wrong things, where, if you're trying to chase a relationship, if you're trying to chase money, you have to understand that there's a foundation of other skills you need before you can get those things. And we'd much rather give me the 5 hot tips to pick up the girl or to make the fast money, right? I think it's more than that. And when I talk about these things, I'm coming at it from a mindset perspective. When I talk about these pillars, the pillars of perspective, because when you talk about the body and mind, you have to realize that there's the body and mind are really well connected, and that what you're feeding your mind, what you're feeding your body, plays a big part, a big role in your mood, in your energy levels, and all these other different things. And then when you're talking about finances, right, talking about money, wealth creating, and all that stuff, it's coming at it with a different mindset. Again, these things are things I aim at that aren't taught, right? That we should have some kind of formal teaching in through our education level. We're not. So, and these 3 pillars, soft skills, finance, and health, I think are extremely important. That they can build the foundation. Once you have a strong foundation, these other things come in your life a lot more easily, a lot more fluid. And so that's why I teach what I teach, because and essentially it's what I did with Discover Ignite, right? Like when I first started Discover Ignite, it was more just throwing up like random self-help things that I was going through at the time. And then again, refining it and trying to determine where to go. And then when I started the Underdog Experiment was more of the pillars of perspective. Where it's like, okay, well, these are something we really need to hammer at, and then start doing that. It's refining that process and realizing that, hey, you really need to go back to the mindset and really start teaching how the mindset was set up, how I set up my mindset, again, throughout the years, and making the change, and igniting that change, and how I did that, and then how over the past more relevant, closer past couple years, I've been aiming more towards optimizing my mindset and making that even better than it was before, and how I can make that a system, a light framework system that works, and realize that it's not an overnight success. And I do hammer that a lot. And I know this is the holiday edition, so I didn't want to really come on here and like give a lecture or anything like that, even though I was kind of just updating everybody and everything. I think it's still important to realize that, again, I've never been one for New Year's resolutions, right? I've always believed that you should, if you want change, you can do it again at any time in your life. You can do it whenever you want. You can do it right now. You can, you come on here and watch this video, you can change your life right then and there. And that's what's important. And that's what I try to help people with. And how to do that, and to realize that it does come from your mindset. It does come from the way you're thinking. And there's a lot that comes and plays into that. And a lot of times we don't typically see that because we don't understand how our brains are working. We don't understand what perspective can do to our lives, what beliefs do to our lives, what relationships do to our lives, what our environment does to our lives. And if you don't know how or why you're in the situation that you're in, you can easily fall victim to these things. And it's trying to understand that there's more than just that you can change it. And I provide that system for you guys. But again, I'm not trying to sit here and hammer away on this whole holiday edition, right? I don't want to. That's not what I really wanted to come on here for. I was actually debating on what I was going to do when I came on here. I know relationships was a big one because I know people always need relationships in their lives. It's just finding the right relationships that work, and then not letting those relationships just fall off, right? If you find a good relationship in your life, you should pay tribute to that, because I think that's important. You need to maintain that relationship and don't let it fall away, right? Because you find that if there are negative relationships in your life, they will continue to try to make it negative and not bring the change that you want in your life. It's not saying to just throw all your friends away, right? If you find like the environment, your friends just aren't serving you anymore. And I'm not meaning in a bad way, like they need to be giving you something, right? But if you want to make a change in your life, you have to really kind of like, you know what, I'm not going to go out and party anymore. Because I used to, even like myself, right? Like I used to be in that environment a lot. And I think this is something else I want to relate here on the live. And again, into the video format, is to kind of give you guys a little story on this holiday edition about relationships, since that was kind of the theme of this whole thing. I know I was kind of giving updates and everything, but if you watched this far, I would like to provide a little story, and it's about relationships. And I think one of the biggest things is, some people may know or you may not know, I used to be in the military for 8 years. I served in the military. I've been all over the world, and the big thing is to understand, like for me, that environment is a very different environment, right? There's a lot of hype, there's a lot of partying for those people that know anything about the military, and I enjoyed it. It gave me an outlet. When I was a very structured and rigid kid, I was very disciplined at a young age before even the military. And it's funny because a lot of people will say, hey, you know what, you can tell you've been in the military. And it's like, well, it was kind of that way before I was even in the military, right? I was always making my bed and always getting up and early before school started even. And I would run a couple miles and then come home, and I would weight train. And I mean, I did a lot of stuff on my own before I even got into the military. So I've always been in self-development. I just didn't really know about this whole realm of self-development later on in life, that there was more of an aspect of it, this kind of aspect of it. And so, and I always believe in self-development because I think it's important in life. But again, not trying to veer off too far here and go back to relationships, but when I was in the military, I lived that party life for a long time, a good majority of it. And I think it was the last 2 years or so. I remember it was coming towards the tail end of my career. I was debating if I was going to stay in or not. When I first came in, I thought about going lifetime, right? Like I joined, and my whole thing was, I'm going to join forever, right? And retire in the military. Obviously, I have not done that, but I'd actually probably be retiring in another year or two if I had been in. Yeah, I would only have about 2 years left, to be honest. But nonetheless, I mean, that's all hearsay, as in time's all past. I've made different choices in my life. I don't regret it. I think everything happens for a purpose. But nonetheless, before I got out, I made a change. There was a point in my life when I kind of neglected myself, and I started falling off because I used to work out all the time and stuff, but I did it for other reasons, right? Like you do stuff. I was driven by outside elements to want to be in shape and stuff like that at a young age. And then I kind of fell off a little bit. Not extremely bad, but I had one of those moments that was like, man, I really need to get myself back in check again. And I remember I had gotten deployed, and that when I was just before that deployment, I'd gone to a party, and I didn't like the way things worked out. I was upset with myself, and I wanted to make a change. And I know I would be in a spot that was isolated. And so, with that being said, I was like, well, now is a perfect time. If there was any a time, it would be now to make a change. And so I went with that mentality into it because I knew I would be gone for a good amount of time. And so I started really making changes. I started really making changes with my diet, with my exercise, and I really transformed my body because even up to that point, like I never really, I've always had kind of like a 4-pack. I never really had like a 6-pack or anything like that, and I was really trying to change all that stuff, right? Because that's the way it was, and so at that point, I made the change. I made that tradition. I made the commitment. Then I went that 6 months, and I completely transformed myself. And I was like a bodybuilder, so much so I wanted to be Mr. Olympia. That was my goal at that point. That was my focus. Is like, okay, well, I'm gonna start hammering this thing as hard as I can, be Mr. Olympia. And I remember coming back from deployment, and people wanting to go and hang out and drink and everything. And I remember I went to, that first weekend back, I went to a party, and everybody's drinking, and I remember going there, and I think I had a drink, and then I was like, this isn't what I want to do anymore. This goes back to the relationship thing, right? Like, I wanted to make a change, and I wanted this change to last. Like, I had seen the difference that I had made over 6 months, and I was like, well, you know what? I want to continue this for the rest of my life. Like, I enjoyed the way it felt. I enjoyed the way that I look. I enjoyed just every aspect of bodybuilding, and I wanted to be Mr. O. And at one point in my life, there was a lot of things that came into play there. What stopped me from doing it? I got injured and everything else. There was no real excuse, but there's no way I could have made it. I had ripped quads, so I would have had to have surgery on both of my quads to be able to fix the aesthetics of my quads, to be able to even attempt to try to, because I don't want to, if I go into something, I want to be number one, right? Like, I don't want to be just somebody that are just in it to be in it to prove a point. And in doing so, my quads were jacked up from an earlier injury when I first got in the military. I ripped both of my quads, and I never went to the hospital, so they didn't heal properly, and I have a lot of scar tissue in my quads. So the aesthetics for my quads wasn't really there. Again, because of the heavy scar tissue and the quad damage across my muscles. You can actually see there's a big rip. I'm not trying to get all detailed about it, but about that, and then later on, coming from that point, I ended up hurting my back as well. And so I have a disc in my back that slipped from deadlifting, and it kind of just threw that whole thing out of whack. So it stopped me from being able to lift heavy and big movements. So I ended up just like dropping it. That's why I kind of fell off there too. But again, trying not to get sidetracked, trying to keep this on relationships. So when I came back from the deployment, that's not the environment I wanted to be anymore. And I knew that all my friends were into that, and I knew that people wouldn't like it, right? Going and changing and want to make that change in my life, but in making that change, I realized that it wasn't going to be easy, because that's all my friends did was just drink all the time. And at this time, I was also starting to go back to college, right? Because I wanted to be a programmer. Because at this point, I was like, well, I only got a year and a half left. Let's start college and see where I end up. And so in saying that, I started taking some courses, started signing up for courses, and again, going back to college and going into programming and in bodybuilding, right? Those were the two things I wanted to do at that moment. And so I started getting into these things, and I had to change it. And people were asking me to come out like every weekend. Every weekend was a party. And if you didn't want to go, you were kind of like the outcast. Like, what do you mean you're not going, right? And so it was hard to keep telling people I wasn't going to go. I had other things going on. And then you realize that, people just stop asking you after a while. And people realize that, people used to say you're not the fun guy anymore and stuff. And to me, it was like, well, at the time I had a higher purpose, right? Like I realized there was other things I wanted to get done. At that point, this is what I talked about in the beginning of this live and this video, was that like people are, when you're starting to make the change, it seems like you have to kind of start off on your own because you don't know about the other communities out there. You don't know about the other people out there that are like-minded. And we tend to forget that we do have the internet and we can find other like-minded individuals, and we should seek those like-minded individuals to build off our interests, especially if you got a new interest that you lose sense of time and self. And back then there wasn't really a lot of communities. The internet at that point, YouTube and all that stuff wasn't huge back then. Obviously, I'm talking like a decade ago or so, so it was all still brand new stuff, but nowadays it's much easier to do that stuff. And so being said, and so I had that gap, right? And people just, again, quit calling me and everything. And I had a purpose, right? My purpose was to finish college. I started college and started hammering away on my college courses. I started hammering away at the gym, so it was always just study hard and gym, and it was rotating between those and work, and that's all I did. And I made dramatic changes to my body, and I was lifting some crazy stuff, and I was really enjoying it. And I wanted to start competing, and I was trying to build my size and everything, and then and college was rolling, and then I ended up getting hurt, and I pulled my back, and I really jacked my back up, and deadlifting, and then that just kind of just killed it for me, because I remember pulling my back. I was doing deadlifts, just to put a frame of mind. I was warming up with 225 deadlifts, warming up, and I got complacent and I wasn't paying attention, and I never wore a belt. I always felt like I had to keep my core tight, to not let myself slack. And for whatever reason that day, I didn't stretch very well, and I went out, and I remember picking it up, and I remember feeling this sharp pain in my lower back and dropping the bar, and I couldn't even walk. I think for like a week I could hardly walk after that point. And so in saying that, it changed a lot of things. I gave it enough time for my back to heal, and I tried to get back into it, and every time I tried to go heavy, it just was not working. I couldn't go heavy at all. Like my back would start to go out again, and it would be extremely painful, right? And I'd be worried that trying to squat again or something like that, going under a heavy bar, I'd always worry about my back would give out and that heavy bar would come crushing down on me. And so I did have that anxiety for a while. And so that what put me off for a while. So I took all that great progress I had, I just kind of let it all slip away, because it was frustrating every time I got, once I healed back and I was trying to push, I'd be good for a couple of weeks, and then, my back would go out, and then I couldn't even walk for like days, and it was really bad. And so I stopped doing it. I stopped going, and then I started picking up a lot of work and everything else, and then life just took me, and then I let it take me. And this is what I talk about a lot of times, because I just let life take me, and life dealt me a lot of crap, straight up. Life dealt me crap, and I was okay with it, and that's what I deserve for just being okay with it and not actually trying to make the change that I wanted in my life. And in doing so, again, trying to relate this all back to relationships and stuff, right? Like I started Discover Ignite, I made all these changes. I went through a lot of changes in my life, and realizing more that relationships do really matter, and finding those people. And the more I continue to do this, I'm finding some really fantastic relationships, even starting this out, right? Like I met a fantastic coach, and I still am in contact with her. I talk to her periodically, although it's more on a friendly basis right now. And I have some other great friends that are more like-minded, and I draw the energy off of them, because we're all trying to do it, right? And when you're around that community, you can feel the energy, you can vibe, and you realize that your brain tunes into this stuff, and you find energy. And I'm not just talking about the energy that you get from eating right and sleeping and all this stuff. There's a an energy that you can tap into. You can call it spiritual or whatever you want to call it, but there's an energy that you can tap into where you find motivation. You wake up and you're excited to move and get going, creating. And whether you want to believe that or not, I was in that same spot, right? Like, you can say what you want. Like, I've lived a lot of different things, and you get to a point where, you won't tolerate it anymore. And you realize that, man, these things that people talk about that may seem far-fetched, they are not as far-fetched as you think they are. If you would actually give it some time and let it do its work, and let this compound work in effect, you see dramatic changes in your life. So much so, it's hard for you to even believe that it was possible. And some of it's simple. Yes, you need help along the way, but I mean, it works. And it works great. And you still got to maintain. That's the thing. You can't let it fall off, because you fall off, and you got to understand this constant creation thing is that you are only as good as you are today, or the choices you're making today. If you fall off from where you were 6 months ago, then you're not the same person anymore. So you got to continue to maintain that, and why it's important. And again, relationships like that and stuff like that are extremely important. It's to find those like-minded individuals to keep you on track and tell you things are going to be okay, because it's not always easy. It is not always easy. This stuff just comes easy. You're not going to wake up one day and just get it, right? It's always your grind. It's always a work in progress. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have good days. You're going to go in waves. You're going to come in seasons. No matter what happens, all will be well, right? Just as long as the change that you want to make, right, is legitimate, and you are, it's a change that you want in life. You find the people that have that same mindset, are on the same frequency as you. Find your tribe, and those relationships, right? You find better relationships. You find lasting relationships, and finding these like-minded people. And so, in saying that, I hope you guys have a phenomenal holiday season. This video will drop on YouTube, so it will be Christmas tomorrow. This video will come out on YouTube. I'll format it and have it uploaded by then. And I just want to thank you all, ultimately, for this whole thing. I appreciate each and every one of my subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you who are willing to trying to use the techniques that I discuss and everything that I put in practice, and apply them to your life, and believe in the process, and realize that it does work. It will allow you to make changes in your life that are long lasting. As long as you continue to put in the effort, they do make great changes. They do take you out and show you great perspectives that can really change your life. Oh, hey Angela, how you doing? Nice to see you. I'm actually just closing this up. Oh, light me up with the hearts. Appreciate it. But yeah, that's what told me what I'm doing is just to holiday special. How you doing? Yeah, just giving a little holiday edition. I'm not festive at all. I'm horrible about that. I did state that in the beginning of live. I just want to spread some love with all the people that support me, love and support me. It's that kind of time of year, and talking about Merry Christmas to you as well. Hope you're doing fantastic and spending great time with with your loved ones, Angela. But that's where we're at. And for those people, again, tomorrow this will be uploaded on YouTube for you guys. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you guys have a fantastic holiday season. That's fantastic. Well, all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end this here. I still got to do some stuff. I got some kiddos I got to attend to as well. So I hope you guys, again, have a fantastic holiday. Yes, I will save this live, Angela. Fantastic. Appreciate you, Angela. I appreciate the love and support. Yes, ma'am. Good night. All right, everybody, you have a fantastic one, and I will see you guys later.